All right. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for coming out to another Sundown webinars offered by the CNH district. And today we are going to present and talk to you all about membership recruitment. So first, just some quick logistics before we get into the webinar. If you have a question, please raise your Zoom hand and to ask your question. There's no need for you to wait till the end. We actually anticipate that this could be a lengthy webinar. So if you have any question at all as we're presenting, please feel free to ask. And we'll also not be monitoring the chat during the presentation. So if you would prefer to send a question through the chat, you can do so at the end. Right, and now we'll go ahead and introduce ourselves. So hello, everyone. I'm Austin. In case you don't know me already, I'm an incoming fourth year at UC Berkeley, majoring in economics and political economy. And I am your district member recognition and education chair. 2 years ago, during the COVID year, I was the UC Berkeley Circle K Club Treasurer. And this past year, I was UC Berkeley Circle K's Membership Development Education Chair, as well as the Executive Assistant of the District MD&E Committee. So as you can tell by my leadership experiences, I've worked a lot with dues paid members and membership recruitment retention. And I'm really excited to be here today to tell you everything that I've learned throughout my years in Circle K. And a fun fact about myself is that I don't drink coffee. I'll let Andy introduce himself.
Hey everyone, I'm Andy. I'm an incoming first year to UCSD, and I'm a part of the District Member Development and Education Committee. Fun fact about me is that I have an app on the Apple App Store, so I actually do a little bit of game development, which is pretty cool. So let's get started, I suppose. Why is recruitment important? I'm sure recruitment is not the first thing you'd want to do on the weekend, but it is super duper important, which is why we still do it. Well, first of all, it brings in lots and lots of new ideas. So when new members come in, they obviously have a lot of different backgrounds and experiences, and that's going to generate a lot of new ideas, such as service events and fundraising ideas. It also allows people from past Kiwanis branches, like Key Club, to continue the K-Fam journey. And that's super important because I'm sure all of us know how hard it is to get back into something after you've stopped it. And then as members graduate, or people leave, or because of transferring out, or leave for other reasons, it's important to replace those members to keep this club going strong and healthy. So that's great and all, but how do you actually convince people to join? While it is important to explain what Circle K is and how to join it, if you can really sell why people should join it, you'll find a lot more people actually paying dues and signing up. And explaining why you should join Circle K can be summed up by 3 tenets, which is service, leadership, and fellowship. So some angles to convince people through service include highlighting all the special volunteer events that we do as a club or as an organization. I was in one of the breakout rooms and our members talked about a lot of cool service events like Hemo Pet and Single Service. So talking about those, especially inside your pitch, is a great idea. And beyond that, there's also like Key to College, which is where I guess Circle K clubs help Key Club members educate about the college admissions process, which is also really cool. We're also really unique because we support large organizations collectively as an organization, which is not something you often see. The second tenet, leadership, can also be used to convince people to join Circle K. With this one, I really think that it's best to kind of give your personal experiences too. For instance, talk a little bit about district training conference, president retreat, district convention, etc. Because all of these have leadership workshops, right? You can also talk a little bit about the vast alumni network, especially for those in community colleges, because that can help people who are looking to transfer schools and go into various career fields. Something special about Circle K is that we're not only one academic interest or major, which is really helpful if you're into that interdisciplinary studies. The third tenet, fellowship, can also be used to convince members to join. Personally, I would talk about mentee-mentor or fellowship programs and personal relationships with other Circle K members. Meeting people, even though I'm a freshman, I've begun to meet people all over Circle K, like Austin. Austin was kind enough to let me join his committee, and I've learned a lot about Circle K. And I wouldn't have had to have this opportunity to present here and learn all this stuff without it. So thanks, Austin. So for those of you who don't know, or actually another way to convince people to join Circle K is giving them the cold hard facts about the dues paid membership and how it can benefit them. Side note, this year's district goal is to get 2,000 dues paid members, so help us out. But yeah, when you recruit, you want people to be dues paid because they're more likely to stay if they're dues paid because they put a little bit of investment into it, right? So some examples of benefits for dues paid members is that they get exclusive access to district events like FTC, which is Fall Training Conference, and DCON, to meet members all over California, Nevada, and Hawaii and get that sweet leadership experience. They're eligible for district recognition like MRP and district awards, which looks super good on resumes. They're able to apply for all the scholarship opportunities that Circle K offers. Austin actually won 2,000 last year, and I won 1,250, which is super cool. And it means I'm not so much of a broke college student anymore. And if they get a scholarship in the future, by the way, this is for retention, point that out, they'll feel good. They also become they also become eligible for executive boards. So that's on the club, district, and division level. And they can also vote for it. So if you want to have a say in your club's leadership, becoming dues pay is a great way to do so. They can also access an exclusive global leadership training course with a certificate to add to your resume. So beyond DCON and FTC, there's another thing that CKI International is now offering. If all these benefits wouldn't convince you, then spice up the deal with some extra perks. So some ideas that we have on the MD&E committee is, talking about the mentor-mentee systems, birthday shout-outs, free pins, make them cool because if people wear them, it's free advertising. Discounts for events or items, especially if you hold banquets or other events that have entry fees. Giving a discount to dues paid members is another way to convince members to become dues paid. Yeah.
All right. Okay, great. Thanks, Andy. And so a really helpful acronym when it comes to recruitment that I like to use and refer members to is Mariah. Care for your members like Mariah. Here, I'll break it down this acronym for you. M stands for me. How will you promote and spread the message of Circle K to your non-members, members who are not even familiar at all with what Circle K is? And don't worry, I will get into that more later on. A stands for answer questions. So be prepared to just answer common questions that you would get from prospective interested members about Circle K. Earlier during a team building activity, we actually practiced presenting example pitches that focus on a specific Circle K tenet that you would give to a member during tabling. So I'm pretty sure something that you just did during team building activity is something that you might actually use as an answer to a common question you would experience during recruitment. R stands for record contact information. Just remember to, during recruitment, remember to have some type of sign-in form, sign-in sheet available for anyone who stops by your table or comes out to an event to just fill out and leave their contact information, most commonly an email address, or even ask if you build a great personal relationship with them, ask to become their friends on Facebook or on Discord so you can add them to your club's Discord server or club's Facebook page. And also, what also comes with R and recording contact information is also remember a member's name because, well, people really like to hear the sound of their names. You probably remember reading that in How to Win Friends and Influence People, if you already know what that book is. And just remembering someone's name will make them feel welcome and valued because, oh, wow, this person I only talked to for like 5 minutes actually remembers who I am. And they might feel more included and more encouraged to come out to your club's events. I in Mariah stands for invite. So after a while, after a while in your Circle K leadership position, it might start to feel normal for you to just send like a generic like invite message to an event, to like in your club's Discord page or Facebook group, or like an email blast to your club members. But I would encourage you, to, especially to help retain members, to retain members that you've built a good relationship with, is to actually invite them personally to your club's events. That way, it would feel like that someone is actually wants them to come out to your club's event, is expecting them to come out. And especially if you build a great relationship with a new member, they will have someone to talk to and hang out with during an event. And also, as I mentioned earlier, I remember to keep your club's new members updated by inviting them to join a Discord server or Facebook group. A stands for ask. Most of the times, it's easy for us to just say, let me know if you have any questions, join Circle K. But a question such like, will you join us, really calls for direct action from a member, and makes them more hooked and probably intrigued as to whatever it is that you just said. And also, as time goes out throughout the club, another helpful way to retain members in your club is to probably provide some ways for members to get feedback, like a feedback survey at the end of a quarter or semester. So that way you can continue to cater events to your members' interests. And finally, H is host. After you put in all the time to host, after you put in all the time to recruit new members through tabling, through hosting a welcome week, through promoting yourselves out there on your campus, you actually want to plan ahead and host an event for members to just come out and get more familiar with your club. Some common examples most clubs typically do is a welcome week featuring an info session and other events that I will actually get into later. All right, go ahead, Andy.
Great. So Mariah is a great strategy, but where exactly do you use it? Well, the highest yield place that you're going to want to use Mariah is at Admitted Students Day. So if you're in UCSD, that's Triton, or that's Triton Days. If you're in other schools, I guess give examples in the chat. But if you get stag students on Admitted Students Day, then you're going to find, or that's when they're looking for clubs, right? Essentially. The refer a friend system is also really, really good if you have committed members, because people are going to listen to their friends a lot more than they are from some random guy from Circle K. Regular tabling on school days catches stragglers from outside of Welcome Week or Admitted Students Day. But besides those two, you can also make flyers and post them at popular cafes, because people don't have anything better to do while waiting in line. And if you're really brave, you can ask your professor if you can announce Circle K during the first few minutes of class. I know at UCSD, they allow that at least. I'll probably have to get a friend if I were to do that at my school, to be honest. But, and also, you can incentivize posting on personal social media accounts. Bonus points if they can throw in a little pitch, like from their own words, if that makes sense, about Circle K. Oh, did I miss part? No, I didn't. Okay, good. Oh yes, tabling tips. So when you table, here's a few things on the screen that you should have. In particular, I'd like to highlight including fun souvenirs. For example, scrapbook, display any district awards you guys won, all the paper cranes you made at volunteer events that you still have to donate. Totally wasn't us, because I didn't want to drive. To attract members, free things are really nice. Free food is standard, but if you don't have that much money to spend, a cheaper option might be having shaving cream pies, and people who stop by and spin a wheel and land on the right quadrant get to fly an officer. If you do, send me a video. I'm interested. And also hide the sleep deprivation. People match your energy, and excited people are more likely to sign up. So don't sound like very, very tired. Yeah, liven up a little bit.
Okay, and now lastly, we're gonna help give you all some advice on how to go about starting to plan your club's welcome week. Typically, a welcome week is just a a week towards the beginning of your fall semester, fall quarter, full of events for your members to come out and get more, more aware and more aware of what Circle K is all about. Because Welcome Week is usually a week full of events, it's important to start planning each Welcome Week event and your logistics early. It'll also help to make sure while you start planning, you'll make sure that there'll be at least hopefully a few board members at each event. And also, once you iron out the details ahead of time, you can actually encourage your family heads or any returning members who are interested in being mentors to come out and meet members. So that way they can immediately start getting more familiar with the new members and potentially scouting out potential family members and mentees. Also, remember to, during your Welcome Week planning process, remember to try to incorporate some incentives for people to come out, but offering free food, free rides, maybe creating some type of point system, and a certain amount of points converts into entries for a raffle held at the end of Welcome Week. And as you can probably tell, everything that I just mentioned sounds like a lot, which is why, again, it's important that you start planning your Welcome Week events logistics early. And since it's the middle of August, you're likely already starting to do that. Typically during a Welcome Week, you will like to have your events be balanced across the 3 tenets. Here are some common events that a lot of clubs typically like to do. Marketing your first general meeting as an info session. And I really do encourage that you do try to promote your first general meeting instead of just saying first general meeting, as actually promote as an info session. There's common times where a lot of college students, they're acclimated to clubs who have like an application process at the beginning of like a semester or quarter. And if you don't apply within like the first whatever weeks of the semester and you don't get in, then it's really not possible for you to join later on during the semester or quarter. But the same is obviously not true for Circle K. But a lot of people associate with the word info session with, oh, anyone can come out and anyone can like learn what this organization is about. Well, it will also be great in regards to our fellowship tenet, hosting some type of social event that probably involves taking like a trip somewhere. Really, this like type of social event involves taking a trip somewhere, or probably like at least a 2 or 3 hour event. That's really a good amount of time for new members to really meet others and hopefully starting to build a better, closer relationships with other members in the club. And also for your service and leadership events during Welcome Week, you might want to possibly start thinking about hosting some type of after social during the event. Again, just to really help increase bonding, and it will allow people who might not be able to attend the event to just come out, enjoy Circle K, have a fun time, essentially to show that we are social. And as people, they come out to Circle K because they're interested in service, but they end up staying for the friends, the fellowship tenet, the family, and offering and planning after socials after like a service or leadership event is a great way to do that. And lastly, for a service tenet, a really easy way to attract a lot of members to come out to a service event during Welcome Week and hopefully facilitate more bonding, getting to know people is as an easy tabletop service project where you could just sit down, break up into groups and just talk and mingle as you work on whatever it is that you decide to do for your tabletop service project. And I think a tabling fundraiser will be a good thing to incorporate during recruitment week, because a tabling fundraiser would usually attract more people than usual to your table. And people will obviously ask, what is this fundraiser for? And that is your prime opportunity to talk about what the fundraiser is for, hopefully one of our DFIs, and what Circle K is about in general. And here are some other suggestions and things that I've seen that not all the clubs do, but I think that could really help with retention right off the bat. If your club has a family and or a big little mentor-mentee system, possibly incorporating like a meet the family heads and meet the mentors event and the actual reveal during welcome week if you can. If your club has an extensive alumni panel, it would be great to host that alumni panel to show members, again, as Andy mentioned earlier, that Circle K is not just one academic major or one career field. There are a variety of students from all across different interests involved in Circle K, and definitely if you have like an alumni panelist who is very involved in Circle K, held past leadership positions, they can articulate to your new members who come out to alumni panel how Circle K developed them professionally as leaders that they took with them later on in lives. And that would just be an overall really good event for members to learn how Circle K can impact them personally in the leadership tenet. If your club has a regular seasonal newsletter, it would be great if you could print and actually hand out like a welcome week newsletter or a summer one, or just any recent newsletter that you have. Well, a lot of times during recruitment, especially at tabling or or maybe even at your info session, there's bound to be someone who probably doesn't have the time to listen to whatever you're saying, or you might even have a few people probably tuning out at your first info session and just passing out some type of Circle K newsletter during recruitment. And then these new members would bring that newsletter home with them. They can refer to it later on, and who knows, they might just leave on their desk, and like their roommate who doesn't know anything about Circle K might see it and pick it up and read it too. And lastly, if your club currently does not have like a full leadership board, or I guess like struggling with overall just to keep members involved in the club after like the first month of the semester, I would recommend opening like club leadership applications, or even our committee applications, appointing an executive assistant for a lot of appointed board positions. It's coming from a campus such as UC Berkeley. Unfortunately, I've experienced where a lot of members, when they come out to a Circle K recruiting event, especially at UC Berkeley, they're expecting there to be some type of application or like something that would have to apply for to gain like leadership experience. And unfortunately, because we really don't have one, they're not really interested in Circle K, or they decide it's not really worth their time. And so maybe offering leadership opportunities right off the bat to new members would maybe they would apply, and they would be obligated to stay involved in the club. And here's just some tips on how you can run your welcome week events to really encourage bonding and overall retention. So as I mentioned earlier, you want to start planning your welcome week events early, so that way you can ensure that you'll hopefully have a few board members at every welcome week event. And for our club executive board members here, I recommend that you tell your board members to have them actively start conversations with new members. It's very likely that you'll have a brand new member who doesn't know anything about Circle K at all come out to a welcome week event, and they will likely come without knowing anyone in the club or without having any friends. And we obviously don't want them to stand there or sit there awkwardly the whole time, not really engaging with anyone. So try to avoid having your board members congregate each other. And if you're hosting a welcome week indoors, I recommend consider assigning board members to specific areas of the room so they can talk with everyone and really capture and make sure that everyone who comes out is involved. As I did earlier today at this webinar, I played some music for you all as people were filing in. Same thing applies for any recruitment event. Play some music to show that Circle K is a fun club. We have good vibes, and then playing overall fun, good music might help build a more first great impression to your new members. As always, remember to start off with introductions, especially for an event, especially for any event that's not your first general meeting or your first info session where you've gone over what Circle K is. It might be worthwhile to actually do a brief CKI introduction in case if it's a member's first time coming out to your Circle K event. Remember to also, as always, have a sign-in form. R and Mariah record their contact information, and I invite them to join your club's social media platforms. And remember to plan out an icebreaker. Likely, there'll be lots of people at each Welcome Week event. And if there are many attendees, I recommend actually separating everyone to groups and hosting team mini competitions. And then honestly, this could apply for any event that you decide to host during Welcome Week. For example, I mentioned earlier, I recommend you plan a social event that involves a trip somewhere. Maybe that's a hiking event, and you could have teams do like a nature photo scavenger hunt, or a service event is cleaning up, like picking up trash at like a beach or like somewhere in the city, and you could challenge like a mini team competition to find like a specific item. And of course, at the end of your event, remember to promote the rest of Welcome Week, how to stay involved, and if you have an after social plan after, actively invite them. All right, so now next up, we're just wrap things up and answer any questions that there are. So just remember some key takeaways. As Andy mentioned during potential recruitment pitches that you can present to your members. It'll be great, especially for the leadership and fellowship attendants, to insert your personal Circle K experiences to really emphasize to them how Circle K can really grow oneself. And they'll probably start imagining like how Circle K can met themselves personally. Of course, the helpful acronym of Mariah. Remember, fellowship is such an important tenet of Circle K. Remember to be social and inclusive of others. People come out for service, but they stay for their friends and family. And even during recruitment, it's important to get started right away on working on retention. And if you're wondering, how can I better retain my members? Well, don't worry, you could come out to the webinar next week on August 23rd, same time, 8 p.m. to learn all about recognition and retention from me. All right, everyone, this is the end of the webinar. We're ready, me and Andy are ready now to take any questions, and feel free to reach out to me for anything recruitment, recognition, retention. I'm in the club leadership Discord if you're a club leader, and especially for any MR and E officers that are here today, I'm engaging with you all on Discord, and feel free to email me anytime. All right. Oh yeah, so for questions, feel free to raise your hand or just drop in the chat, either works. All right, seeing as how there are no questions, then we will just go ahead and wrap up today's webinar.